Major funding for these programs is made possible by grants from Chase Commercial Term Lending, New York Community Bank, Capital One Bank, Perfect Building Maintenance, M&T Bank, Customers Bank, Genova Burns, Terra CRG, Meridian Capital Group, Wyckoff Organization. Additional support is made possible by AKA Hotels Corman Communities, Aerial Property Advisors, AmTrust Title, AVR Realty Company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Bank Leumi USA, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Citizens Bank, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, CPEX Real Estate Services, Cushman & Wakefield, Dime Savings Bank of Williamsburg, Fisher Brothers, Flushing Bank, Friedman, Handler Real Estate Organization, HAP Investments, Hersha Hospitality, Hodges Ward Elliott, Inc., Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Madison Realty Capital, Matone Group, Mercantile Commerce Bank, New Banks, Newmark Grubb Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rosewood Realty Group, SJP Properties, Sterling National Bank, Stonehenge Partners, TD Bank, The Continuum Company, The Moynihan Group, and these friends.
So it's called Long Island, and there's a section, Nassau County and Suffolk County. And over the years, since World War II that you remember, the world has changed in Long Island. So today, I've assembled this group of business leaders to provide their insight on what's happening in Long Island, a place to live, work, shop, and visit, and stay because of you with the hotel. So we have to say everything. My guests, they include the legendary Alan V. Rose, the chairman and CEO of AVR Realty, Michael Maturo, the president of RXR Realty. You always need a banker on a show who's going to lend money, so you have Bob Bernard, who's the senior vice president at People's United Bank. And last but not least, somebody who's been considered like he's building more homes in Long Island than anyone. I think he's the home builder of the year, my friend Michael Dubb, who's the chairman and CEO of the Beechwood Organization. So when did you enter Long Island?
I entered Long Island about 1949. I worked for a guy for 3 or 4 years. I was a truck driver, and I was a
So my question is, has it got easier in the past 67 years to develop properties? Because we were talking prior to the show that you had property in Yaphank, you know.
The only good thing about being old is the timing. When I came into my own, I wanted to be my own business. It was 1952, 53. There was 5 million people in Brooklyn that had just gone through the war, and they were all wanting to move from Brooklyn to Long Island. They had the VA, the FA. There's no way you could not sell every house in a month, everything. Of course, I only could buy 1 lot, and I took an option on 20 others, so it took a while to get going.
So what's happening out there? I mean, people, as you said, after the war and in the 50s, people went out there because they had the opportunity to buy a piece of property, to even have, as somebody said to me, you know, we had farms next to our houses, okay? And then there was the shopping center.
That was in a once in a lifetime situation.
Right, but what's the situation today?
Well, when you talk about 2,000, 3,000, you know, there's 3 million people that live on Long Island. So it's really a drop in the bucket. And the story really is there's not enough being developed. There hasn't been enough developed over the last 2, you know, Alan can probably tell you, multiple decades. And what does that mean is that people are actually leaving the island because there isn't places for people to live, particularly young people. Right, and that's what I think we are in different forms trying to address. And I think that's what Long Island is trying to address in a big way, retaining its youth.
Now, what you have is, besides the new residential developments, you have you have Class A properties, and then you have certain B properties. The biggest problem that Long Island has been having is to continue to get the millenniums to stay there. Because, they want to be in New York City. They want to be able to eat, dine, and, they want to be with younger people. So how do you attract, in your $400,000 house, somebody? And how about in your apartments in Yaphank today that you're building? How do you attract people?
Well, there were really two schools of thoughts. One is the cool downtown, place like Huntington, and we're currently developing in Huntington Station, which reminds me a little of Bushwick and Williamsburg 25 years ago. It's an area that's about to get a renaissance. And so if you give people entertainment options, transportation options, affordable housing, it gives them the ability to lay roots down and then eventually to graduate into a single family home. The other school of thought is that not everybody wants to live in a downtown. The American dream to some people is still a car in the driveway and a backyard and throwing the ball around with the kid. So we have to get to that, by zoning. And one of the problems we have on Long Island is school districts resist new kids to schools. So often we have to balance it with tax-neutral 55 and over housing, coupled with some new housing, so that the overall tax situation is neutral to the school districts.
How do you look at the 55 and older? I mean, in the Ritz-Carlton, it's not 55 and older.
Well, it is to a certain extent.
No, I agree, but you don't have a commitment that you have to be over 55.
No, not at all.
That's what I meant.
And we are actually, interestingly enough, getting some younger people that are coming in for the school district. So we have some buyers that are young couples that have one or two small kids that are going to take advantage of that don't yet want to get into a home and manage that. But the demographic we're going for the most part in the Ritz, is empty nesters that have the 3 to 10,000 square foot homes on the North Shore of Long Island. Their kids are out of the houses and they're left with a very large home to manage, pay taxes on, and it's a burden. And they're looking to adjust or shift out of being in a lifestyle that provides luxury, but they're looking for convenience. And there really is not a lot of product like that on Long Island. So when we came up with the concept of creating this Ritz-Carlton, in terms of getting it financed both on the equity side and on the debt side, it was a heavy lift because there's no comparative product. So somebody trying to underwrite it.
So my question is this. So now you have a Ritz-Carlton, okay?
Right.
Convenient to the city, convenient to Long Island, convenient to the Long Island Expressway. Can we see the possibility, or would you see a Four Seasons opening up?
Well, obviously, if the Ritz-Carlton does well, the first thing you're going to see is the Four Seasons. And then when they do well, you're going to see a big Hilton and you're going to see a Marriott.
Well, there's a project at Oheka Castle that we actually looked at that's in the market right now. And Jack Nicklaus is actually working with the club and redesigning the golf course. And a developer is supposedly in contract to work with the owner of the Oheka and the Cold Spring Country Club, along with the Jack Nicklaus Golf Course, and put a 300-unit condominium project that'll be of the same level of a Ritz-Carlton, but not with that type of flag, but a connection to Oheka.
With a Bear group, with a Nicholas type of group.
Exactly.
Over there. How do you, as a banker today, they've been on the island, but they haven't been on the island. They, as we were saying before, it's a bank in transition over there.
Yeah, what's really exciting for me, the bank's been around for 170 years, but they haven't been entrenched on Long Island and Manhattan for very long. So we brought in a whole new group. The bank is extremely well capitalized. What strikes me the most is, you real estate people, location, 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 and for us bankers, it's sponsor, sponsor, sponsor. We are poised to provide financing for the best of the bunch. So I'm really looking forward to growing this business.
But how do you look
around Long Island.
Let's look at the specific types we have over here. We have a combination of office, luxury housing, market rate housing. You know, we have somebody who is shopping centers, a couple of hotels, a very large development in Yaphank over here, and we have the 800-pound gorilla building different type of variety of homes.
You know, the beauty of our business is really we can be everything for really good clients. And, you know, so that's what's good about it. We can follow in all those different avenues that you may play in. I'm a firm believer in Long Island. I've been here forever, as these gentlemen have too, and they've performed extremely well through every up and down in the cycle. So as long as you have staying power with the right people, you'll be very successful.
As I said at the beginning of the show, a place to live, work, shop, and visit. One of the problems that we've seen over a number of years in the Long Island has been the office market. It hasn't really been affected by RXR, but there have been many landlords who have seen their properties just stay at this $20 stagnation. It's like the Westchester and the New Jersey suburban office market. But that's the type of people who are going to be buying and living over there. How do you attract new customers?
Well, it's difficult because you have to keep the talent, and you have to attract businesses, right? So there's no large business, no Grumman anymore that's coming out to Long Island. So there's nothing of that magnitude that is spurring that level of office demand that will rise prices, right? So I think you have to rely on new business formation on Long Island, and we have to provide solutions in terms of keeping young people on Long Island, keep the talent on Long Island, and then with a combination of that talent working with the assets that Long Island has, like the research institutions, for example, the education institutions, you can start to build some new foundation. You know, Alan spoke earlier about historically, Long Island has been a white picket fence, office, business park, mall community. I think the phenomenon that's going on now is that is to a certain extent and to a large extent being moved into relic territory, and now it's about redeveloping downtown. So if you can create these cool downtowns and have density in terms of housing, have retail and entertainment, eventually you can start adding office in the downtown areas near transit, and you can start to build that demand back up.
What has happened in New Jersey, you know, in Montclair, in Morristown, in certain other places, Union, anything near the train, okay, has done okay. Would most of your people still drive, okay, to your properties? I mean, they have a car. I mean,
there's also shuttles. We're going to have a complete shuttle system in our project. If somebody's living in one of his houses and he wants to go to the train station, we take them to the train station. If they want to go to a shopping center, we take them to a shopping center. So, or buses or things like that. You got to live with what you have.
You know, my friend Alan Goldman is SJP Residential in New Jersey. They built this building. 40 years, nothing took place in Fort Lee. They called it the Modern. In order to take, and he's doing well, they have a Mercedes van that takes people across the bridge to the 176th Street station. So I think what you're saying, it's part of what you have to do in the communities. Are you planning to do that in any of your
Well, can I say one thing? Yeah. The whole purpose of this community is that it's walkable. The same people that live in his houses or live in our apartments are going to walk 1 block to a big, beautiful shopping center. There's a town park that they can walk to. There's all kinds of amenities over there.
You know, it's great that you can build apartments. It's wonderful you can build houses, but you have to have jobs.
These people that are buying his houses or renting my apartments, they have jobs. They're not coming out of nowhere. These are people who can afford things. Can I just say one thing about the old discussion we had about the millenniums? Everybody's talking about millenniums. But if you add up the number of millenniums that can actually afford to buy something in our category, and whether these people want to spend all of their income on housing, the market narrows down to be so slight that it doesn't pay to even bother with.
But I think that's part of the situation.
That is.
The millennium doesn't have the down payment for the home.
Long Island is one of the greatest places to live in the country. I mean, we have the city at our footsteps, we have the Hamptons, we have the best schools, we have great hospitals, and we have our own infrastructure of employment on Long Island as well as the city. The constraints on young people are the real estate taxes, the commute, and these things. That's why downtowns are important. The housing market on Long Island is really strong. It's constrained. It would be even better if real estate taxes weren't so high. So when young people go out and look, the mortgage payment sometimes is lower than the real estate taxes. We didn't grow up in that era. We grew up, the mortgage payment was the nut and the taxes were the afterthought. So it is constraining young people.
But isn't there the possibility, I mean, I know through the Long Island Association and the other, you do get some affordable, if you build affordable housing, you have
to build 10% at least of whatever you're building as affordable.
And the affordable housing is available to 80% of the area median income, or is it
something of that level? Yeah,
it varies.
And there are constraints on it that eliminate a lot of the millennials. They just don't make the thresholds to qualify. Your income restricted and asset restricted. So it's not the answer for the overwhelming majority of young people on the island.
What's happening to the let's say, I hate to call them the obsolete malls. I mean, you know, the Walt Whitman or the Roosevelt Field are not obsolete, but what's happening to the numerous obsolete which once had the Walbaums or the Bohack or the Food Fair? There aren't that many supermarkets out there. You know, when a person, the company based in Rochester, who's opening up in the Brooklyn Navy Yard, I forgot their name, a major operation.
Wilmarite? There's a big builder from Rochester.
From Rochester, the supermarket chain. They had made a commitment that they were going to open up
Wegmans.
And then Wegmans has taken it off the board. Right. Why is a Wegmans walked away from a great opportunity with such a population?
I would say the costs, the real estate taxes, no subsidies of any kind. You know, one of the reasons that millennials can live in Manhattan or Long Island City is the city has great, enhancements for them to pay less taxes, get all kinds of things that you get with a New York City program. There's no such thing as that in Long Island. Maybe one in Patchogue where that guy got a lot of subsidies and put a lot of money into the building. They did a nice job, but you can't do that and pay normal taxes.
What about the hotels? Okay, you all of a sudden 2 years ago you decided to go to Carl Place to build a hotel, and then you're
I wish I could tell you that I was a genius, but the only reason we built those hotels in Carl Place is we couldn't do anything else with the land, and we figured we don't have to pay for land. Let's build this. But it turned out, and this goes again with the location theory, that the traffic in Nassau County, Old Country Road, is impossible. So if you're coming from New York or you're coming from north, you come down to Meadowbrook. But if you have to get off at Old Country Road, you're dead. But our property cuts up as north of the Old Country Road, and we get off at Westbury Avenue, and it takes 25 minutes less to come there. And everybody found that out like in about...
How do you think the bank would look at a hospitality project?
You know, hospitality isn't, it's a difficult property for banks to finance.
It's not true at all.
Well,
yeah, I mean, we must have got 40 hotel loans in the last 2 years.
That's really
and
good.
They love it. And the real story be told...
Certain banks specialize in that aspect.
Well thought of, well-located hotels and done by professionals are doing better than apartments or anything else.
I agree with you, but I think that regulators don't look favorably on that asset class. So
we're talking
there needs to be some limitation.
Let's talk about Garvey's Point. What you're doing out in Glen Cove, and the Superfund and the remediation.
Yeah. So I think it's somewhat consistent with a downtown revitalization, Glen Cove. It needs that type of repair. It needs to have something done to re-energize it, and we've taken this piece of land, and as I said, we've been in the project for 10 years. We've worked through a major cleanup that was funded both by the federal government and the state, and we have a 1,000-unit project that'll be a mix of rentals and condos. We're going to have retail. We're going to have a huge amount of park space. We're going to have a small amphitheater there.
And how far are you from the train?
We're well, there's 2 trains. You're probably within, a mile, a couple miles from the train, so a mile or so from each train station. But we also have a ferry that's built right on the water that's going to provide high-speed transport into Manhattan for 40 minutes.
Are you going to run the ferry, or is
We're
that...
not going to run the ferry. We're bringing a ferry service.
No, I mean, but you're building the ferry service.
The ferry is already built. It's the marina is already built to receive the ferry, so that's already done. We're about to break ground in this summer, hopefully. And I don't know if anybody in this group here has been hit with this, but we've been hit with an Article 78 filing, which is another, bad law in our view in the New York State that allows somebody to file a complaint against your development for...
We've been fighting this forever.
Right, for, misapplication of procedure. And the bad part about it is that
It holds back everything.
It holds back everything, and it doesn't provide for any bonding, so anybody can just raise their hand and file this type of complaint. And if you're not well capitalized, what it could do to you, because it's 6 months to get it adjudicated, and then then it can go on appeal, and there's another 6 months, so you can be a year of being held up for no reason, and if you don't have a significant amount of resources, it can kill a deal.
You can also have one group file 78. Where you after a few years
exactly
go away, and a month later another group.
Let's talk a little bit about Meadowbrook, which was a unique project on the old racetrack, and what you're doing there today.
Well, it goes to what we've been talking about. Meadowbrook Point originally was zoned for 750,000 feet of big box or office. And I looked at the property, and it was conveniently located in the heart of Nassau County, and I said, we need a project to keep people here in the heart of Nassau County, people who want to get out of their homes, to have a Florida lifestyle, to have all the amenities. We have a 25,000-foot clubhouse with a spa, beauty salon, ballroom, your own coffee shop.
All of a sudden, there's something called pickleball?
It's very, very big.
Pickleball.
Pickleball. Yes, it's. I had pickleball and bocce ball are big. But in any event, when I conceived that community, people said, well, why are you building in such a congested area? And now that the community is built, people say, what a convenient location. So I have another project similar to that in Plainview, where I had to overcome the Article 78 process. And as Mike said, anybody can throw it at you. There are no consequences to the assailant. And we overcame the Article 78. We've broken ground, and that project will be a mix of age-restricted and non-age restricted with a shopping center. And we have 6,000 or 7,000 people on a wait list for 750 units.
Let's talk about Southampton, which is an interesting place that you built a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Well, we discovered in Southampton, we built Bishop's Pond, which was a very successful condominium project in the village, that there were people who lived in Southampton, had big houses, and were tired.
Which is similar to the Ritz-Carlton concept.
Yeah. They were just tired, and waiting for contractors, what's broken, they're not in the house all year round. The demand for these was fantastic. We sold it out, and now we've purchased the Village Latch in the village of Southampton, walking distance to the village, and very confident about that selling out.
And what's interesting is it's also near the train.
Yes.
You have the opportunity, of people taking the train, which is anything that's TOD, as they would say, the transit-oriented developments in all types, being luxury, even in the market rate, and the rental is really good.
That property has it all. He can walk to the movies, he can walk downtown. It's as well located as I've ever seen anything in the Hamptons.
So talk to me about what your apartments, the joint development, Mike is building the 55 and older,
right,
and you're building the rental and the shopping center. What are you building?
Well, we're building a 400,000 square foot shopping center with some of the best tenants you've ever seen, which is rare for that area. Nobody's ever seen these kind of tenants. But 90,000 cars a day pass by on the LIE. And of course, the apartments we built there are the most expensive apartments. We've been there forever. We've owned the land for almost nothing for all these years. But everybody that walked in there loves it. Now, where did the demand come from? They came from everybody that's living there in 20-year-old houses. There's over 1 million people living illegally in somebody's basement. And the first thing they would love to do is get out of it. These are all fire hazards. And it's
So Mike,
located perfect.
what are the opportunities of an RXR? What do you see in Long Island today as opportunities?
We have over 15 million square feet of Class A office space that we've acquired over the last 8 or 9 years in Manhattan. That's doing tremendously well. It's because the talent is here. But what's New York City suffering from? A couple of things. One is a real lack of supply of affordable housing. And two, to a certain extent, there's a lack of supply of what we call 21st century office space, right? If you look at New York City, it's a 400 million square foot office market, but 60% of the buildings in New York City are over 60 years old. So there needs to be more supply, particularly when you look at the amount of people that continue to come into New York. So we look at it and as a solution that it needs to be regional. So we look at not only the boroughs, but we look at Long Island, Westchester.
In the same concept.
In the same concept, that could be a solution that needs to be a regional solution. So we look at, and just focusing on Long Island, a big opportunity for Long Island to deal with its problems, which is shifting away from more of suburbia back into a urbanization of the downtowns and having the benefit of being very close to New York City and providing solutions which are, to very expensive housing in Manhattan, very expensive housing which is now in Brooklyn and Long Island City, that Long Island can be the beneficiary of that. And developing places like Mineola, Huntington Station, Glen Cove, Patchogue, these areas, maybe. Hempstead, this could be a huge beneficiary of that. So it's a phenomenon of the Long Island needing to reinvent itself and New York City needing a solution to what is a lack of affordability.
So I think in a similar manner, I recently wrote an article on the revitalization or the repositioning of the industrial market in New York and New Jersey. And I think what's happening today is, even though with the zoning problems, which aren't going away, with the Article 78s, with all of this, I think there has been a repositioning and a resurrection in Long Island, which I haven't seen in the last...
It's starting to happen.
It's starting to happen.
It needs to happen in a much greater capacity. It can't take 10 years to get to development. It can't take 70, you have to get there sooner.
Most of the towns who have any brains at all are chasing developers to add density.
So what we're going to do, hopefully...
If anything, you got to build more.
Okay.
You have to build
when we
more.
start the 16th season in September, since you started the 15th season this year, hopefully we'll all come back next year and we'll continue to see what's happening in Long Island. I'd like to thank Alan Rose, Mike Toro, Bob Bernard, and Mike Dubb. See you next week.